This is Pete Jones, and you are listening to the Dragons Are Real podcast. Okay, episode 11. Today is Tuesday. On Thursday, I've got my new Lamentations of the Flame Princess game, which is going to be set in the Midlands, and I'm looking at using the Stonehell Mega Dungeon. So I've got 2 days to go. I thought I would record what I'm going to do now, how I'm going to get set up, and in this episode I'm going to talk about my setup and maybe follow through what the process is, have I got everything, and then each recording during this episode will add on to that and take us through, and hopefully we'll get eventually to post-game. So, first of all, I need to pack my rule books. I've got 2 hardback copies of the core rules of Lamentations and the Flame Princess. One for myself, one for the players. I know one of the other players has bought it, so that will ease it a little bit. At the moment I'm expecting 7 or 8 players. It's going to be an open table. So yes, we do need copies of the rules there. As for the players, I've got 3 wargamers, stroke role players who are mainly wargamers. I've got 3 or 4 predominantly role players who also wargame as well, and I've got one of the lads who's never role played in his life, and he's about the same age as me, 54. So that's going to be different for him. So I've got my Lamentations of the Flame Princess rules, 2 copies. I've got a copy of the Midlands setting by Glyn Seal. That's a hardback, so that's a reference material. I've also got a map of the Midlands, which was so a nice map that folds out, and one shows the Midlands and one shows the whole of the Haven Isles, which is the setting for the Midlands. I've been to town and I've bought some more pencils for the players, because I know players aren't going to turn up with pencils. So I've bought another pack of pencils. So we've got pencils. I've got erasers. I've got a pencil sharpener, importantly. I've got some highlighter pens. And I've also got some dry erase and wet erase markers. And I'll tell you what those are for in a minute. So that's next into the bag. For each player, I've got a small exercise book, a notebook, with their names on it. These I carry over from campaign to campaign. So we've got those so they can write whatever notes they're on, whatever game they're on. I've got dice, lots of dice. One set for me, the GM, and for the other player. Oh, sorry about that. Living dog barking. Be quiet now. So I've got the dice. I've got zip wallets so we can put the character sheets in once we pack those. I've got little A5 whiteboards for jotting notes down on. They're handy, so that's what the dry eraser for. I've got a cloth to wipe the dry erase boards down. I've got a large Chessex mat, which is 1.5 inch grid. Gridded on one side, hex on the other side, and that is what the wet erase markers are for. Next up is my poker chip case. So this is an aluminium poker chip case, and this has got all my markers in it. There's about 400 markers in there. They're the ones that Ben Milton did on Questing Beast, where the 1.5 inch hole punches from Magic the Gathering cards, and stuck onto 40mm bases, which means there's like a 1mm gap around the counter onto the base, so which has been marked off with a black marker, so it's not right up to edges. I've got a number of markers for the PC, so they can choose one of those. Then I've got counters into various groups with names on the back of them, and I've got generic ones. I've also got some little heart counters, which are heart beads. They're going to be used for wound markers for the big combats. So that's all wrapped up together in the case together. So that's ready to go. Next up, I have got my character sheets. I've got about 20 character sheets printed out. I'm expecting some to die. This is Lamentations, old school D&D, so people will die. I have also got my bullet journal. That's a backup. I've got some notes in there should electronic devices fail. So and some notes that help me. That's all ready to go. I've got my 7-inch tablet. That has got PDF copies of Lamentations of the Flame Princess on, the monster manual from Labyrinth Lord, which a lot of the monsters are for this scenario. It's also got a copy of Trello on, which is an electronic app for organising, and I've put all the monsters into Trello so I can bring them up so I don't have to leaf through things. I've got them electronically with all the stats on. At our venue where we go, Wi-Fi can be a bit hit and miss, so that is also backed up straight onto the hard drive, so if there's no Wi-Fi, I've still got access to me monsters. Next up is my GM book. I don't use a screen. I'm not a fan of screens at all. I prefer to roll in the open, which means that I need something to hold all my tables on and any notes. So I've got an A4 book with sleeves in it, and I've got a quick sheet on the first page, which is weapon damage and weapon ranges and hit dice for monsters. On the next page, I've got the 1-page solo engine, which is great for if you want to make decisions and you're not sure, you can just roll on this. It's basically D6 tables, which are handy to have at the table if I'm stuck. The next few pages is the cheat sheets I created. These were based on the ones by John Large from Red Dice Diaries, which he did and put it kindly. I've copied them. Added extra bits in, so I've got quick references for stuff like character creation, encumbrance, getting lost, using skills, initiative, how combat works, gaining a level, experience, etc., etc. So that's all that. I don't have to look through the book. The next page is something called NPC Voices, which is a one cheat sheet to describe character voices, and it's got symbols so you can quickly scribble down, which is quite handy. Then I've got some printouts from Maze Rats game in there, the tables. I've got treasures and equipment, the city, the wild, the maze, and characters. So that's all in there. So if I'm stuck, I can just turn to the book and there's some tables to roll on. I've got some extra equipment lists printed out, so I can just hand out at the table. I've got a list of cleric spells, a list of magic user spells in there ready for quick reference. And then I've also got the main characters, the main classes in there printed out. So I've got cleric, fighter, magic user, specialist, dwarf, elf and halflings. They're all ready to go. I've got a table of occupations for roll D20, and I've also got John Large's adapting Lamentations of the Flame Princess for the Midlands as well. So those are some of the ones I've got, and I've just printed out NPC creator cheat sheets there to go in as well. That's from the that's a PDF I've got, the NPC interaction emulator. So that's quite good. Gives you can do a quick roll on D100 and it gives you some ideas. I've also got my clipboard so I can attach things to. I've got a gridded square sheet for the players so they can map out the dungeon as they come to it. I've got an A4 folder with the Stonehell printed out, so I've got paper copies. and each level is on an A4 sheet with a map on one side and then the room descriptions on the other side. And as I'm going along, I'll be using a highlighter to map where the players have been, so I know where they've been, so if I go back there, I'm aware of that. And I think the last thing to pack away is a little fold-up dice tray, neoprene dice tray. So we've got somewhere to roll on without the dice skipping across the table. So that's everything squared away for now. Okay, it's Tuesday night. I've set up a wiki to record my campaign. Put some basic information to start with. The world with a brief sort of background. People, important NPCs and the characters will go there. Ready for some session reports to go in there as well. Any house rules I've got, which and character creation and character death. So that's set up and that's on the web. And you can follow that at campaignwiki.org/wiki/Midlands. And I'll put that in the show notes. Amongst any other items I mentioned in this podcast will appear in the show notes. Another couple of things I've done for prep is I've printed out the Labyrinth Lord monsters list. So that's in a folder, and that's now in my bag. I've also got a power bank for juice, so that should I run out of battery on either my phone or my tablet, then I've got a backup, so I can plug straight in. And finally, I've bought a digital voice recorder with which I've been recording this on now, but the plan is on game night to put it on the table and let it record the whole session so that I can make notes from it later, because with 8 people I don't think I'm going to have time to write notes down. Okay, today's Wednesday, it's the day before the game starts. I've got a day off from work today, so today I will be doing final prep. So the plan is today is read through character creation for Lamentations to make sure I'm up to speed with that. I've just created a newspaper for the players to get to hook them in, the Brig North Post. So that'll be a handout, and I'll give them a bit of background and hopefully give them onto the adventure. And then the rest of the morning and afternoon, I will be going through Stonehell, reading through the whole first level again, so I'm au fait with it. And then I will be concentrating on the first 2 parts, reading it in depth to make sure that I'm ready for anything that players throw at me, so that I'll be fully prepped tomorrow. I'm going to have no time for prep tomorrow because I'm working, so that's it for today. Today's Thursday, today's game day. Just got back from work, beautiful sunny weather, so I've got an hour to chillax before I head on down to the club and get it set up for the evening. 6 o'clock, just arrived at the venue. Game doesn't start for another hour, so I can get set up. One other player here, so the other 6 or 7 should be arriving over the next hour or so, and then start at 7. It's an hour after the game is finished. I've got home, had a coffee. How did the session go? I've spent about an hour doing character creation. A few of the players weren't familiar with old style D&D, so it took a bit of time. But yeah, everybody was sorted. Some of the veteran players helped the others. And then on to Stonehell. They went up to the dungeon, up to the canyon first, waltzed through the gatehouse, saw a rabbit run off, which spooked them a bit, and then the first random encounter table, first random encounter rolled, and rolled a 1, so that was 2 wolves, so I had the rabbit eaten. They quickly dispatched them without any problem. Yeah, it ran well. They found the cave bear, but tiptoed as they're there. Fought some skeletons, dispatched 3 very quickly, but the others were slow to kill, and the skeletons did knock one of the players unconscious. So the Cure Light Wounds was used to bring him back round after the last skeleton had been dispatched. So in all, yes, that they've done the west part of the canyon. I think they're eager now to get on to the dungeon. So all in all, I don't think I made too many boo-boos. I recorded the sessions of playback so I can work out the XP and see if there's anything I can learn from that. So we'll see how that goes. It's now the day after the first session, and today I've been going through all the character sheets, checking them for errors. We did encumbrance slightly wrong last night, so that's been corrected on all the character sheets. We were using oversized items 2 slots as opposed to 1 slot, and an extra encumbrance point. So that's been sorted now. A few people made errors with their armour class. That's been sorted. And then today I've updated the wiki, and if you want to have a look at the wiki for that campaign, it's campaignwiki.org/wiki/Midderlands with a capital M, that's MIDDERLANDS/home, capital H, page, no space, with a capital P. And I'll leave a link in the show notes to that. I put all the characters on there and their base stats. I've also put the first session report on last night's game up there. I played the audio back that I recorded for any bits I wasn't sure of. Two of the players haven't given names to the characters yet, so I've had to use placeholder names for them until I get to the characters' names for them. And one of the players wasn't really happy about playing a magic user last night. So I've told him it's only the first session. If he wishes to change the character for another class, I'm quite happy with that. He'll keep the same stats he's rolled, so he's thinking about becoming a cleric, but he's going to have a think about it. I also sent a link out to all the players for a PDF link for the Lamentations art free rules, so they've all got access to the rules, so they can have a look at those before the next session. And that's about it today. It's been a couple of hours doing that, and hopefully this will be up on my podcast soon.
You've been listening to the Dragons Are Real podcast. You can contact me by leaving a message via the Anchor app, or visit the podcast website, petejones.neocity.org, or on OSR Anchorites at the Audio Dungeon Discord. Thanks for listening. The opening music is Siesta by Jazar. The closing music is Controlled Distress by BizBaz Studio.